Probably the first thing that set me off in recording was finding out that you could bounce from one boombox to another, and it was quickly downhill from there. Really, the thing that got my interest going the most was like a mic theory and acoustic theory class that I don't think was intended to be a mic theory and acoustic theory class. I think it was just like the teacher was really into that, so that's what we wound up talking about most of the time. I did that for a couple of years, and then I moved to Chicago, and we were all doing, like, it was Chicago in the early 90s, so it was, we were all just doing industrial music. And then I moved to Cincinnati and spent about 8 years kind of building up, like, what is the studio now. It was started out like with a lot of drum recording for other friends that had, like, they had a lot of bands that they worked with, and they just didn't have a space for good drums. And I had, once again, a warehouse, because I liked living in warehouses. So I had some big, huge room that I could just, like, put mics up, and it would generally sound pretty decent.
What about Ice Cream Factory Studios? How did that come about?
Well, that started in an old ice cream factory that I was also living in. It was Sterling Ice Cream Factory in Cincinnati. Yeah, I got a space in there that was big with an oddly shaped room, which was handy. At the time, like, I felt like there was a pretty big empty niche in the Cincinnati recording scene where, like, bands needed to be able to record somewhere cheap, and I was able to set them up with a place where they could just kind of work for next to nothing and get something. Like, it's Ohio. It's full of weirdos. It's wonderful, and that's kind of, like, I think that sort of defined my angle I've been going at ever since, which is like if you bring in something strange, I'm that much more excited about working on it. Like the weirder, more esoteric, more like, if you've listened to Brainiac and Guided by Voices and Devo, we're probably gonna get along. The things that have made the biggest difference since it all came together, well, there's a Fairchild 670, which it's funny because I use the UAD Fairchild 670s for ages, and they really do, they do a really sweet thing. And having the actual piece of gear with the actual giant transformers and tubes, it's like I can just put it in line, turn it on, like, not touch the audio signal at all, and it still adds, like, heft and girth. And man, for bass, for vocals, it's, after it warms up for about an hour, it's just the most perfect thing. No, the A5Xs were what I started with in this room, and they were scaled well to this room. Like, they're smaller speakers, but with the sub 8, the A5Xs were, like, perfect combo. But once I changed the S2Vs, I was like, okay, like, it was a pretty huge upgrade from the A5X to the S2V. The S2Vs have a much tighter mid-range and a much tighter, like, low mid. The biggest note from like, working with the ADAMs is the translation to other systems has been really, really, like, really accurate. Casey, who's also been working in here, Casey McPherson, singer of Alpha Rev and Flying Colors, has started a new project that he's launching called Ferson. So we've been working in here on his new album, which is fantastic. There's some stuff that I imagine will be on the radio. And one of the first things that he noted was, like, he put together a rough mix. He's like, yeah, this sounds about how I want it to sound. And he was, mixing on the S2Vs, and he came back to me and he was like, man, this is the first time that I've had a mix together where I've been like, yeah, this is about right. And I put it in my car and been like, yeah, it's about right. Like, it was like the translation was so nice for him that now he feels like he can really trust the room. He's straight up said he's been in, like, Avatar Studios. He's worked with Michael Brower. He's worked with all these huge names in huge studios. And he's like, this is the first time I've ever had, like, a translation happen that was so trustworthy for me that I could just make a mix and go and feel good about it. And if I heard what I liked in here, I knew that I could send it out and be done. So, so yeah, that's high praise. Yeah, that's.